Welcome everyone to the clash between two Indian top players, Nihal Sarin and P. Harikrishna at the Menorca Open 2026. Menorca Masters to be precise. Nihal Sarin here slowly becoming one of the best players in the country, pushes his pawn to e4 and Harikrishna responds back with pawn to e5. Nihal takes his time and brings bishop to b5. Whoa, what kind of a move is that? Hari is like, okay, did we forget to insert knight f3, knight c6? And he's played bishop b5, pawn to c6, hitting the bishop immediately. And bishop a4. Nihal Sarin has been, we are seeing him playing offbeat openings all the time. Pawn to d3. Now remember, queen a5 check could drop the bishop, but there is knight c3. So it's not something to worry about. Pawn comes up to d5. For Hari, it's like a great opening that he's got great opening position. He has the center. His pieces are coming out. He takes with the knight here. You can see the bishop can come out here. This bishop is open. Castling is easy. So Nihal's opening strategy hasn't really worked out. But on the other hand, maybe Nihal didn't really want an advantage out of the opening. He just wanted something fresh and playable. So castles. And now the e5 pawn usually is a bit soft in these structures, but also you want to take care of the bishop g4 ideas. So pawn to h3 played by Nihal. And now Hari brings his bishop to f5. Knight can come out to d7, b6 or f6. He goes knight e2. And now knight c4 could be an idea. Knight d7, defending the pawn, bringing out a piece. And knight comes to e4. Now pressurizing the d6 bishop. The bishop drops back, bishop to c7. And rook e1 with the idea of putting pressure on the e-pawn. And Hari takes a very interesting decision. He takes, pawn takes and brings his knight back. Now, suddenly Nihal's position looks very nice. He has the bishop pair. The pawn structure in the center is symmetrical. This is looking nice. I mean, you can play c3 and bring the bishop back. That's exactly what he has done. Knight to c5. Attacking e4, a4 and looking at d3 square. So bishop c2 makes a lot of sense. And now Hari takes the queen. He's known for his endgame play. Rook takes d1. Now taking on e4 would be met with rook e1 and then the e5 pawn falls. So black goes pawn to h6, stopping the bishop from coming out to g5. And you have rook e1, just defending the pawn calmly. Hari brings his rook to d8 with the idea of looking here, king f1. And knight comes into d3. He takes. Now look at this position. Rook takes. So rook's getting doubled. But look at this move, knight d4. He's trapped the rook. But it's actually a mistake. The point, of course, of Nihal is that after king e2, the rook is trapped. But there's rook takes c3, b takes c3, and this amazing move bishop a5 attacking both the rooks. And if you play bishop d2, now d takes c3 on knight e4 is hanging. So he must take it, but Hari makes an error. He goes bishop a5. If he took here, he was already better. Now knight jumps to f5. So Nihal's knight somehow went from d4 to f5. Okay, let's see. Hari can now double up his rooks here. The position is getting very interesting. Rook a d8 played by Harikrishna. Now you want to bring your king to e2, but unfortunately the e4 pawn is hanging. So first you need to defend it. That's what Nihal does. Pawn to f3. If you go king e2 next, then again the threat of knight d4 opens up. Knight h5. And now king comes up to e2. So there's no check on f4 because the bishop takes it. There's no check on g3. The knight is taking care of it. He goes g6. And he's okay with the fact of taking here and king coming up to g7. So knight e2 played, knight e7 played. By the way, knight d4 this time wouldn't work because of ed, king d3 and dc3 check with the bishop looking here. So knight e7, king comes up. And now Nihal can once again trap the rook. What a knight this is, yeah? Knight is constantly trapping the rook. Oh, he plays it. And he instantly takes it. What a quick decision by Hari, but it's a bad move. He had rook d4 working for him. We'll come back to it later. Rook 3 takes d5, ed, cd. And now Nihal is an exchange up. I mean, Nihal's crazy knight has gone. But is Harikrishna happy with this? Just here, if Hari had played rook d4, takes and knight g3 check. If king f2, there's bishop e1 check, and then you pick up the knight. If king d1, you take and play cd with already a very playable position for black. So taking here was a bit of a quick decision. And now Nihal Sarin has to show his conversion technique. First plays g4. The knight goes back. Pawn to f4 played. Another nice move. Just striking in the center. e4, keeping it closed. But now bishop e3 seems like a very good move to play. Yes. And suddenly it dawns on to, I think, Hari that he has absolutely no compensation. He plays bishop b6, a move that you don't make happily. The rook can come to d1. He first takes on b6, a b6. The king will nicely settle on e3 to d4 and rook d1. Nice move, because this rook you can activate via a4, a5. The king is coming up to e3. Pawn to h5 played. He goes g5, not even thinking about it one bit. Knight to g8. The knight is coming to e7 and f5. Black is trying to get their own bit of counterplay here. And we have rook to d4. So if knight e7, you go rook d1. And if knight f5, you simply drop the pawn. So that's the problem. Rook d4, he does go knight e7 and the other rook comes in. Nihal down to 30 seconds. There's a 10-second increment here. Hari also down to his last 30 seconds. They have to start moving quickly. Rook e8. But now after rook to b4, you're losing the b6 pawn. Oh, he just simply takes here. What a nice decision by Nihal. He just simply understands that this endgame is winning for him and he doesn't need to even keep the extra material. King e3, rook b5. Hari pushes pawn to e3 so that he can get some counterplay with rook e4. And rook e5 played, offering a trade. Rook d8. Believe it or not, the material is equal now. White is a pawn up, but just positionally, it's crushing. And generally, rook endgames are considered drawish, but it's so amazing, right? Nihal taking this decision, this very bold one to just play the rook endgame. And that too, he did it with just few seconds on his clock. Rook d5. All pawn endgames are losing, so you can't trade. That means the white rook keeps on getting an advantage in this position. h4, the black king is cut off from entering in. Pawn to f6, trying to get some active play. But maybe just rook. Oh, he takes on f6, rook f6 and king e3. So Nihal Sarin doing this step by step. Other idea is to just swing the king over to, but oh, the f4 pawn is hanging. So now it's a bit tricky. How do you make progress? Because maybe you start pushing your pawns. Yes, that's what he does. Pawn to b4. Rook d6. And maybe even pawn to c4 now. Yeah, pawn to c4. Step by step, gaining more space. We have king coming up to f6. Rook d5, offering a trade of rooks. Take would mean that white is better. Rook c6. And now maybe just king d4. Bringing the king in. Lovely play. Lovely play. King e6. And now I want to somehow make maybe c5. He goes a5, the other side. Takes on a5. Rook takes on a5. If a check, I simply block with the rook here. Rook b6. And can we go rook b5? Is that a blunder? Because take, and this could be a draw. King f5. So very well spotted by Hari. King f6 and now b5. Aha. So keeping the rook in the center, check. And king c5 maybe. King c5, king b6. Or does Nihal want to play it safe and keep his king on e4? He takes the challenge. He goes king c5. Now the rook comes in. He goes king b6 even. The problem here is that black starts attacking these pawns. White takes these pawns. Which pawns are faster? Clearly the white pawns look faster. Rook here attacking c4. You don't want to give up your c4 pawn. So pawn to c5 makes a lot of sense. But now rook takes f4 and your rook is hanging. And h4 is hanging. So Nihal has definitely lost some time. Nihal goes rook e8. And now rook takes h4. Oh, he goes rook b4, attacking the pawn here. But on the other hand, he hasn't won this pawn, which means the black pawns aren't moving. The rook is coming in to take this now. So he takes on h4. King takes b7, keeping the rook on b8. Now b6, c6, c7. Very quick, these pawns. Harikrishna has to decide how to push. Is the g pawn being pushed? Is the rook being moved? He brings the rook so that the h pawn can start moving. c6, Nihal, very quick. h4, he goes g5. c7, g4. And now you can make a queen already. That's a winning move. It goes b6, also very strong. And g3, you can bring your rook behind the pawn. I think that makes so much sense. Then you stop the, yes, that's what he does. Then you stop the g pawn. You have to play h4. Now h3 isn't coming because g3 is hanging. So he makes a queen and then the b pawn queens and Harikrishna resigns there. What an amazing game by Nihal. Using his knights to jump here and there to trap. And there he's saying I should have played instead of taking their rook d4, cd4, knight g3 check. That is what Harikrishna missed. Just to show you, by the way, they analyzed for quite a bit of time. But this is the moment where Hari went rook takes d5. And this is where he said rook here takes. And now knight g3 check is what he missed. Because then bishop takes e1 is happening with a check. So once Harikrishna did not do that and took here, I think Nihal Sarin just played a flawless game and scored the win. This was actually the start of the tournament, Menorca Masters 2026. We have so many games covered on our channel. Nihal wins this tournament ahead of Gukesh, Rapport, Hari, and Ponomaryov and many good players. So actually Nihal Sarin showing great play and right now seems to be one of the top players in the world of chess.